Lives in the media, specifically between the United States and China. On Friday, I made a post on LinkedIn. It was about a few things, but it was about Northeast China somewhat. And while I was doing some research, I found a Newsweek article that mentioned Robert Wu. And the article was about how there is a movement in China to get back a part of Russia, give a part of Russia back to China. Back in the 19th century, China was worried that Russia was expanding eastward, so they got into a war with Russia. Russia won, and the treaty gave a portion of northeast China to Russia, and there's a big city there today. But the article, which was kind of interesting, mentioned Robert Wu, who I've spoken to in the past, calling him a nationalist, and they used it as evidence to say that there's this movement in China. The post on Twitter that he said only had 300 likes, and it was just kind of pointing out that if Putin wants to use history as a reason for why Russia has a right to invade Ukraine, it's not very good. It's not a very good argument because there's land that Russia has that used to belong to China, and actually he just said it kind of as a joke. And I know Robert Wu a little bit, and he does not seem like a nationalist at all. And he actually did comment on my post here saying that Newsweek article blew my mind. Suddenly I became a Chinese nationalist. Is it even the same publication I read to learn English as a teenager? And the funny thing is I went back to this article today, and they must have seen my post because they changed what they wrote. They no longer call Robert Wu a nationalist. They just call him a social media user from China, and they just have the link to just this bland description of Twitter. So, what does this mean in relation to what I wanted to talk about today in narratives in the media? I don't think this was done on purpose by Newsweek, but sometimes news organizations will want to say something, and they will look for evidence to back it up. And so you got to be a little vigilant. What are they using as evidence, especially if it's a Twitter post? Is that enough evidence to say that there's a movement in the country? And it's especially so with China and America, where there are less people learning Chinese at the moment, less foreigners living in China at the moment. So a lot of the information we get on the country come from secondhand accounts, and it's easier in those situations to kind of twist a narrative or to tell a story that you want to believe in. And this isn't just happening in America, in China, obviously. This happens a lot more often and more deliberately. So the Global Times is a state-run media outlet that maybe educated Chinese don't really read that much, so it's kind of like Fox News in America. But this particular article here is about the Spratly Islands. China and a number of countries have a dilemma between themselves where they all kind of claim these islands in the South China Sea. And in this particular article, it's about this island that is close to the Philippines. It's 100 miles off the coast of the Philippines. And China claims it because they believe that they have a historical claim to it, just like Russia has a historical claim to Ukraine, or Putin says he has a historical claim to it, because there were fishermen on this island a couple hundred years ago, and Chinese had some relationship with these islands many hundreds of years ago. But actually, the International Court said that the island, the China's claims don't really hold any merit. And the international law of the seas actually does say that if a island is less than 300 miles off the coast of a country, then it does belong to that country, even though the legislation or the court did not say who exactly the island belongs to. But in this article, as you can see by this picture, the Philippines is just a boat with a flag, and it is being pushed by a hand that is wearing an American flag outfit. And so this is kind of suggesting that the Philippines are trying to get this island because America is pushing them, not because they actually want the island, which is twisting a narrative. So, and some example for why Philippines actually does want this island. They've had a boat there for the past 30 years, and they've been bringing some shipments to it over the past couple of months, and that kind of angered Chinese, and that's why they sent some ships over, and they used water cannons and kind of bumped into the Philippine boats to try to prevent them from getting to the island. And actually, this led to one guy losing a finger, which is the worst outcome we have seen in the Spratly Islands ever. So people were a little worried that this would turn into a larger conflict because the Chinese had some weapons there. So, but that's a bigger topic. So anyway, the main thing I wanted to show was be careful what you read.